I have been keeping a close eye on the protests happening at the Democratic Convention in Chicago. And it's been eye-opening to see the diversity of causes that people are standing up for. Among them, groups like the Land Back movement, advocating for indigenous rights, and African American rallying against oppression, are powerful reminders of the ongoing struggles for justice and equality in this country. But one group in particular caught my attention, those demanding the cessation of U.S. aid to Israel. Given the ongoing conflict in Palestine, it's not hard to understand why some people are calling for this. The situation is heartbreaking, and the suffering on both sides is real. But let's take a moment to consider what would actually happen if this aid were to be stopped. Israel isn't just in a random skirmish. It's fighting groups that are supported by countries that have openly called for its destruction. Nations like Iran, for example, have repeatedly stated their goal of eradicating the Jewish state. So, let's think this through. If the U.S. cuts off aid to Israel, does that mean that these groups will suddenly lay down their arms? Will countries like Iran reverse their long-standing policies and stop funding or supporting these groups? It's hard to imagine that happening. The core issue here is that stopping aid to Israel without addressing the broader context could be counterproductive. It's like trying to stop the killing of one group while ignoring the fact that there are other groups still operating under an ideology that calls for the annihilation of another. If we're serious about ending aid to Israel, shouldn't we also be calling or pushing to stop aid to Hamas and similar organizations? Israel isn't fighting in a vacuum. It's part of a larger, complex conflict where both sides receive support from various powers. Imagine a scenario where the U.S. cuts off aid to Israel. Israel, now more vulnerable, could face increased aggression from groups backed by other countries. Would those demanding an end to U.S. aid then stand by and watch if the situation escalated into something even more catastrophic? I'm not saying that the current situation is perfect or that U.S. aid to Israel is beyond critique. But the issue is far more complex than it might appear on the surface. If the goal is to achieve peace and stability in the region, we need to consider all sides and all potential consequences. Stopping aid to Israel might feel like a step toward justice, but if it's not coupled with a broader strategy to address the root cause of the conflict, it could end up exacerbating the very problems we're trying to solve. So, before we rally behind a simple solution, let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture. What kind of future do we want to create? And how can we ensure that our actions lead to lasting peace, rather than just shifting the violence from one group to another? These are tough questions, but they're ones we need to ask if we are serious about making a difference. Let's take a moment to step into the shoes of someone who has seen their people suffer, who has watched their community endure daily violence, and who knows all too well where the bombs that rain down on their homes come from. If I were an Arab or a Palestinian, would I still think the way that I do now? The answer is likely no. It's easy to see why the situation feels unimaginable, unbearable. When you see your people being killed every day and you know who is responsible, anger and resentment can take root. The pain becomes so deep that it colors every thought, every decision, every belief. Yet, I am not speaking from a place of ignorance or detachment. I know oppression. I've lived it. I've seen it with my own eyes in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. My tribe, the Hutu tribe, has endured unspeakable harshness at the hands of other tribes in the region. We are killed, persecuted, simply for being who we are. And the world? The world remains largely silent. In fact, those who commit these atrocities often paint us as the villains in their story. The narrative is twisted, the truth obscured. Are my people completely innocent? Of course not. No group is made up entirely of saints. Just like any other community, there are those among us who are good, and there are those who have embraced extremism. But here's the thing. Innocent people are being killed for the sins of the few. Children, elders, women, people who have never lifted a hand or a finger in violence are slaughtered, and no justice is done for them. So here's the real question. While my people are oppressed and killed, should I only condemn those who murder us, while turning a blind eye to the atrocities committed by extremists on my side? Should I applaud acts of terror just because they are committed in the name of justice? This is where the moral dilemma lies. In a situation like this, it's all too easy to see things in black and white. The enemy becomes a faceless monolith of evil, while those on your side are elevated to the status of heroes. But this is a dangerous path. It's a dangerous path. It's dangerous because it justifies the unjustifiable. It says that because we have suffered, it's okay to make others suffer in return. It says that the pain of the innocent can be ignored if it serves a larger cause. But can true justice ever be built on a foundation of bloodshed and revenge? I believe that if we truly want to honor the memory of those we've lost, if we want to ensure that their deaths are not in vain, we have to rise above the cycle of violence. We have to be willing to condemn wrongdoing wherever we see it, even if it's within our own ranks. We must recognize that the killing of innocents, regardless of who does it, is always wrong. Justice isn't about taking sides. It's about standing up for what is right, no matter how difficult that may be. So, as I stand here, a person who knows the sting of oppression, I cannot and will not applaud acts of terror, no matter who commits them. My people's suffering doesn't justify the suffering of others. We must seek a path forward that values every life, that seeks peace, not through the barrel of a gun, but through understanding, compassion, and the relentless pursuit of true justice for all. Thank you.